All right, so let's move towards the final lab, that is the NGIPS. As I told you that we do have a capability of FTD to be running as the routed mode as well as the transparent mode together. So interfaces, you can make the modes of the interfaces as a routed mode or the IPS mode. So currently this was my previous lab. Was a topology, and I just deleted the topology on the EventG and installed the new one in the GNS3 for now. So my intention of this lab is that I will be keeping this the same thing. So my management PC from here is able to communicate with the, okay, just give me a minute. My intention would be that I am using the interfaces, that is over here it should be gig 0/3, and over here it should be gig 0/4, and over here it's router 1 connected, and over here it's router 2 connected. And it should be in such a way that the IP address of the router 1 will be it should be 20.1.1.1, and router 2 will be 20.1.1.2. And I will show you the topology on the GNS3, and you see that R1 and R2 are connected to the via the FTD. And if I go ahead and if I go to the R1, if I say do show IP interface brief, and you see that 20.1.1.1. And if I go to R2, do show IP interface brief, it is 20.1.1.2. So if I try to do ping 20.1.1.2, I am not able to ping because my ASA is FTD is in between. So my purpose of this lab is that I want to configure these two interfaces in such a way that they are in a switched mode. And for the R1, I will be assigning an zone. For this interface, I will assign the zone as the R1, or I can say that IP inside. And for this one, I can assign the zone as IP outside, OUT, out. So IP inside will be the inside zone and the IP out will be the outside zone. So I will be defining these two interfaces into two different zones. And after that, once we define these two interfaces as an IP or the intrusion ports and defining the zone, my intention is that I will be creating a rule in which I will be allowing from both direction, because I'm running EIGRP on these routers, and I want the neighborship to be formed, and I want to make sure that they are able to ping. Then afterwards, later on, I will add one PC here for the network 1.1.1.0/24, and I will use this PC to access the loopback on the, not here, it should be on R1. So on R1, I will be connecting one PC, and the subnet will be 1.1.1.0/24, and I will try to ping to the loopback of R2, that is 2.2.2.2. I will also ping, and I will also get the HTTP server access to that particular R2. But for now, my EIGRP is not able to establish a neighborship between R1 and R2. So if I go up to R1, do show run section EIGRP, and you see that I'm running the EIGRP over here. And similarly with the R2, if I come back here and if you see, so I'm running the EIGRP. Basically, they both are in the same subnet. They should form a neighborship, but due to my FTD in between, I'm not able to form that neighborship. So let's go ahead and configure these two interfaces now. So I will go to the device and device management. Now, first thing what I will be doing is that I will just enable these gig 0/3 and gig 0/4 interfaces. First, I will enable these two interfaces. So I will edit this FTD, and I will go to gig 0/3. I will do nothing. I will just enable it. Okay. And I will go to gig 0/4, go back and enable it. Okay. And click on save. So once you enable that one, you see that you do have something called as inline set. So I want these two interfaces to configure in such a way that they are like an inline, and they should be allowing the traffic according to the policy. So I will click on inline, add inline set, And you see that outside to inside, it is showing me this one. But if I go back to my interfaces, outside to inside, it is saying that those are my routed interface. I don't want to use that one. So let's go to the gig 0/3 and we will give a name saying that IP inside. And here I will say that gig 0/4, we did not enable that one. Yeah, enable this one, IP out. And we see that there are no zones. I'm not allowing any zone and I'm not doing anything. I'm just assigning the name and I'm enabling the interfaces. That's it. Now that I do have both the interfaces as named, so if I go back to inline sets now, add an inline set, and now I do have these are the different combination which it is giving me, but make sure that you select the, what do we say? IP inside to IP outside only, because if you select any of those inside to outside interface, those are the routed ones, and that will create a problem for your traffic. It will disrupt your traffic. So I'm only interested in these two interfaces by name. If these are the two names which I am interested in, so I will say that inline interfaces. If I go to advanced, I just don't want to keep it in the tab mode. Nah, don't need to do anything. So I will say okay. And you see that adding interfaces to inline will change the interface mode and existing security zone mappings will be removed. So you have to be careful. You have to understand that if you are changing the routed mode into the inline mode, all the zones or the policies associated to it will be removed. So be careful with that one. So click on yes and click on save. So now once we click on save, I will go back to my interfaces now. I will go back to the same IP inside network, inside one. And you see that I don't have any option to change the name now. So if I go to security zone, before I used to see inside outside, but these security zones are different from the routed mode ones. So I will click on, I will say IP inside. Click on OK. And I will assign that IP inside to IP inside. And I will say that IP outside. Create a new IP outside. Okay. And okay. And okay. So now let's go ahead and deploy. I did not create any rule. So that means after deployment of this configuration, still I should not be able to ping between R1 and R2. So let's go to deployment. And you see that I do have some interface changes. So I will go ahead and deploy. So after deployment, still I'm not able to, what do we say? Able to ping between R1 and R2. So let it deploy now. All right, so you see that my policies or configuration has been deployed. So let's go back to topology. So I will try to ping from R1 to R2. So if I come back to R1, so if I say do ping 20.1.1.2, still I'm not able to ping because I did not allow the traffic into the policy. So that's why, irrespective of whether it is a routed mode, routed zone, or the intrusion prevention zone, NGIPS zone, until unless you create a policy, the traffic will not be allowed. So let's go ahead and, what do you say, create the policy. So I will go to policy, access control policy. And I will click on edit. And I will say that I want to add a rule. I will say that I am, this is the IPS, intrusion prevention and detection rule. So I will say that IP inside source can be and destination can be, because I want to allow the traffic bi-directional. So source can be inside or outside, destination can be inside or outside. And the networks, for now, for testing purpose, I will say any for now. But for the ports, for testing, what I will do, I will only allow port number 88 for EIGRP. Let me see if I have any EIGRP port over here. You see that EIGRP port. So I'm allowing only EIGRP traffic for now. That means once I deploy this one, my EIGRP neighborship should be up and running. So click on login and logins. and click on add and click on save. Next, so I need this snot rule package has been installing now. So once that is been installed, we will go ahead and deploy our policy. All right, so that is been deployed. So let's go ahead and deploy deployment. And I will select this one. You see that I'm selecting the policy rules deploy and let in the background, let it be deployed. And in the foreground, I will keep this one R1 and R2 so that once the policy has been completely deployed, the EIGRP traffic should be allowed and my neighborship should be formed. Back here. Right, so it's now taking a snapshot. So pre-deployment is done. So now it will be generating that configuration now that to be pushed. That has been done. So now it is pushing the actual policy now. All right, download successful. All right, you see that the deployment is being done. So once the policy has been applied, my neighborship is up now. So now if I say that do show IP EIGRP neighbor, now my EIGRP packets have been exchanged. They are able to exchange. But if I say do show IP route EIGRP, and you see that I do have a route here, but if I say do ping 2.2.2, but I'm not able to ping again, it's now like an layer 2 ports. So you do have a capability now to what do we say, block and allow the traffic inside the policy. So let's go ahead and allow the traffic. I will allow the ping and I will also allow the HTTP traffic. So let's go to the policy, access control policy. And if I click on edit, and I will go to that particular rule. And I will say that I will go to ports. And over here, I will say that ICMP port. Select the ICMP, click on add. And also I will also allow the HTTP traffic, click on add. I will remove this one, save and save. Let's go ahead and deploy deployment. Right, and I will push that access policy and deploy. So now once that has been done, so I should be able to access the R2. So on the R2, I will be running the HTTP server and I will connect a PC on the R1, which will be 1.1.1.0 network, and we will try to take the access. So first I will go to R2. I will say that IP HTTP server, IP HTTP authentication local, username will be Cisco and privilege will be 15 and password will be Cisco. That's done. So my R2 is been running as an HTTP server. So let's come back to R1 now. So I will say that PC1, I will connect it to E0/1 start. And if I go back to R1, I think I have already configured the to show IP interface brief. So 1.1.1 is been pre-configured. So that's all done. So if I go to R2, do show IP route TI GRP, I should see one network I'm able to see. So let's go ahead and take the console of this one. And let's go to terminal. IP address add 1.1.1.2/24 IP router at default via 1.1.1. So if I say ping 1.1.1, I should be able to ping. All right, so my PC is ready now. So I'm just waiting for my policy to be deployed. So now you see that is been deployed. So if I come back to my R1 and if I say that do ping 2.2.2, this time I'm able to ping. If I scroll up, you see that before I was unable to ping, now I am able to ping. So let's go to our PC and check whether we are getting the HTTP access or not. And yes, we are getting the HTTP access. So if I say that show IP HTTP server history, and I should see that 1.1.1.2. Now, why we have this capability like intrusion prevention detection is that whenever the traffic is going, you are scanning the traffic. So the traffic can be malicious. So you can go ahead and deploy the intrusion policies, DNS policies, all the policies which you have studied, everything can be deployed using this into this, what do we say, inline ports, inline zones now. It's the same thing, but the only thing is that instead of applying for the routed zone, you're applying for the inline zone. Now, to verify that one, that this network is also a layer 3 network, that is a routed zones, and these are inline zones. So my currently inline zones are working. I just want to verify that my management PC is able to communicate with ISP or not, because I want to make sure that the routed zone as well as the inline zones, both of them are working. So I will go back to my management PC. I will say that I want to go to Facebook. You see that I'm able to go to Facebook. And if I say that I want to go to Wikipedia, I'm able to go to Wikipedia. If I want to go to cisco.com, I'm able to go to the Cisco website. So basically on my inside network is able to communicate with the outside network, which is a layer 3 zones, and R1 and R2 are able to communicate with each other, which are the, what do we say, the inline zones. So currently I'm hosting both of them. So it's a FTD is on the routed mode. So in the routed mode, I am using dual mode, that is routed mode plus NGIPS mode. So these are the two modes I am able to use in the routed mode. But in case if I have deployed this FTD in a transparent mode, so in this case, I can only run this FTD as the NGIPS mode. Right, so always deploy on the routed modes. To verify that one it is in the routed mode, I will go back to this one, go back to device and device management. And you see that here which says that routed mode. So no need to deploy, especially in the transparent mode. You just go ahead and deploy the FTD with the routed mode and make use of the IPS facilities, inline facilities, as well as the layer 3 facilities. So I hope this was informative for you, and thank you.